Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our unit on people. It also just happens to be our all-English lecture today, or our all-English lesson for today, which means we're not going to be speaking any other languages other than English.
I don't know. We might try French today.
Possibly, but, we need to be forgiven here ahead of time because we are talking about somebody from Taiwan.
Yes.
And inevitably, we are going to say this guy's name, which, of course, is a Chinese name.
Exactly.
So technically, this is not an all-English lecture. Depending on how many times we say this guy's name, I would estimate we're probably going to be speaking English 95.678% of the time. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Maybe 1%, a full 1% will be spent on his name. But it's something we got to do, so you just got to get over it. Right now, guys, as we always do, we're going to read through our article first, and then we'll be back.
A solitary figure wanders down a bustling Jiayi city street, searching for inspiration. Upon finding it, he removes the easel from his back and sets to work. His creation, a dreamy Van Gogh-esque depiction of everyday life in the city, is titled Outside Jiayi Street. The artist Chen Chengpo painted the vibrant scene in 1926, the same year it was selected to hang in the 7th Imperial Art Exhibition in Japan, the first ever Taiwanese oil painting to do so. Chen's life was marked by early tragedy. His parents died shortly after his birth in 1895, and his grandmother couldn't afford to invest in his artistic aspirations. Chen taught in a public school for 7 years before he could finally afford to enroll in the Tokyo University of the Arts in 1924. Afterward, he taught art in Shanghai, where he developed his distinctive style. Upon Chen's return to Jiayi in 1933, his painting career flourished. His works over the next several years featured rich, vivid portrayals of Taiwan's lush landscapes. Today, 58 reproductions of these works are on display throughout Jiayi, making up the Chen Chengpo Art Trail. In 1946, Chen was elected to the Jiayi City Council. The following year, after the February 28th incident, he was selected to approach the KMT as one of 6 representatives of peace during a standoff between civilians and the military. The military, however, seized Chen and 3 others, bound them with wire, and marched them through Jiayi streets before executing them in front of the train station. For 3 days, the KMT forbade the victims' families from collecting their bodies. Heartbroken, Chen's family finally risked their lives to carry him home and photograph the evidence of his unjust death. His bullet-torn shirt, which currently hangs in a museum, remains an evocative symbol of a white flag for peace. Okay, everybody, the time you've been looking for has arrived. It's time for us to discuss the contents of today's lesson. We're talking about, I guess you could call him a Taiwanese folk hero in 2 ways. He's kind of a political folk hero, and also he's an artist, and he's given us some images of Taiwan of the past. And I'm just wondering, Stephanie, have you seen this guy's artworks before?
No, unfortunately, I haven't, but I'm really curious now to find out what his art was like, to look it up, and maybe even take a trip to Jiayi.
Indeed, and of course, if you do a search online, of course, you'll see some reproductions of his stuff, and I have seen some of those paintings before. They're wonderful depictions of Taiwan in the past, and Taiwan just doesn't look like that anymore. So thankfully, someone got out there with his paintbrushes and got Taiwan down before it kind of disappeared with, modern buildings and stuff like that. It just doesn't look the same. But in any case, let's talk about Chen Chengpo, a chilling reminder of Jiayi's past. Now, here we've got something that is chilling. The word chill usually means something is made cool or cold. Like this wine is supposed to be slightly chilled, like a little bit cold, not too cold, but not room temperature either. But in this particular case, it's something that makes you have goose flesh or goosebumps because it's kind of scary and kind of something terrible. So, ooh, it's chilling. Oh, that movie is quite chilling. It was very scary.
Yeah, sometimes if you're afraid, really afraid, sometimes your body will shake, ooh, like that. So it's kind of a creepy, scary reminder of the past there in Jia. So we've got a solitary figure, which means someone by himself or herself. So they're alone. So it's a solitary figure or person wanders down a bustling Jia city street. If a place is bustling, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of activity. There's probably a lot of noise, people talking, maybe machines working, but it's bustling, so people are moving about very quickly. And this solitary figure is searching for inspiration. Inspiration is something that gives you ideas to do something, usually creative, where you're creating something that's new. It could be art. Maybe you're creating a new invention, something like that. But when you're inspired, you have your brain feeling like, ooh, I'm getting all these new ideas. That's inspiration. The verb is to inspire. For me, at least, music inspires me. Sometimes movies will inspire me to go out and do something new. This guy, this solitary figure, who is going to be the artist, he was looking for ideas on what to paint.
Exactly. So back then, of course, Jia looked different than it does today.
Yeah.
So he was looking for inspiration, looking for the right location, the right angle, the right lighting or whatever. And upon finding it, or when he found his inspiration, he removes his easel from his back and sets to work. An easel, of course, is like some kind of platform or something.
It's a wooden frame.
A frame.
It's got two little pieces of wood that sit on the floor, and it pulls out at an angle, and you set your art on top of it. You put your either a clean, what do you call those?
Canvas?
Canvas, yeah. Or maybe a piece of paper, a big piece of paper that you're drawing on or painting on.
Exactly. So he sets it up and he's got his brushes and stuff like that. And his creation, or the thing he has created, the thing he has painted, is a dreamy Van Gogh-esque depiction of everyday life in the city. And it's titled Outside Jia Street. So that must be in the outdoors, looking at a street in the city of Jia. So it's dreamy. It's like a dream. And yes, indeed, if you see his work, they are kind of, I don't know, impressionistic, sort of like Van Gogh. I understand that he's called like the Van Gogh of Taiwan or whatever. So it's a dreamy landscape. It's Van Gogh-esque. We've added that suffix there, esque, E-S-Q-U-E, to make Van Gogh into an adjective, Van Gogh-esque or whatever, and it's a depiction. Depiction is used a lot in art. That just means how the artist interprets what he or she sees. Of course, it's not the same as the real scene. They add their own ideas to it and their own colors and brushstrokes and stuff like that for their own subjective depiction.
Yeah, a similar word to Gogh-esque, Van Gogh, would be picturesque, which we don't use a hyphen in that word, but it's so pretty, it looks like a picture. We'll often say, oh, it's such a picturesque place, or it's such a picturesque mountain. It looks like a picture. It's so darn pretty. So they've got his creation here that kind of reminds people of Van Gogh, the artist. And as Tom said, it's called Outside Jia Street. Now, the artist that we're talking about, Chen Chengpo, he painted the vibrant scene in 1926. So we're talking about someone who lived a while ago. If something is vibrant, it's very alive. I think vibrant, I think of something that's colorful, but there's a lot of activity. It's similar to bustling, except with vibrant, I always think of something that's colorful, especially because we always talk about vibrant colors. So he's painting this vibrant scene, and he did it back in 1926. The same year it was selected to hang in the 7th Imperial Art Exhibition in Japan. Ooh, that's a big deal. He was the first ever Taiwanese artist to have his oil painting hung there. So if you're talking about an art exhibition, of course, you're talking about it's usually a place where people bring artworks and they hang them on these walls so the public can go and look at them. Sometimes you have to pay a fee, sometimes you don't. But here we're talking about the Imperial Art Exhibition in Japan. When you see that word imperial, I always think of the emperor. They, of course, have an emperor in Japan. And so anything related to the empire or the emperor himself, we use that adjective imperial.
Exactly. And of course, as you know, in 1926, Taiwan was a colony of the Empire of Japan. I think it was 1895 until 1945, a good 50 years there. So he was painting, and I guess people in Taiwan, the government of Japan, found out about him and thought, his paintings will look good in the art museum in Tokyo, or at least at the Imperial Art Exhibition. So, phone calls were made and messages were sent back and forth, and his painting was exhibited in this art exhibition. It was the first ever Taiwanese oil painting to be exhibited at that art exhibition. So I guess there weren't any painters before him that were able to have their works hanging in the museum. So I guess this was a milestone for Taiwan's art scene.
Yeah, milestone's a pretty important goal along the progress of something. In business, we use milestone to talk about different points in a project's life that happen that we're aiming towards. That's a goal. It's not the complete project, but it's one important part. So he was the first Taiwanese artist to have his painting, his artwork hung in the Imperial Art Exhibition in Japan. Let's talk about Chen's life. It says here in the first sentence in the second paragraph that his life was marked by early tragedy. When I see that word tragedy, I typically think of something that's very sad. Typically, it usually involves a death, but at least, if not a death, it involves a lot of suffering. So it's an event that was probably horrible for somebody. Maybe it was a natural catastrophe, an accident, a crime, but it was very sad. What was his sadness? Well, his parents died shortly after his birth in 1895. And his grandparents couldn't afford to invest in his artistic aspirations. If you invest in something, you take your money and you put it in something, hoping that in the future, it'll give you more money back than you invested. You can also invest in a person by supporting them. You don't have to give them money, but you support them and their goals. But his grandmother didn't have the money that he needed to study art. Artistic just means something related to art. And here, aspirations means your dreams, your goals, what you want to become.
Indeed. So after he was born and when he was a kid, he was probably doing drawing and stuff like that, doing doodles. And they thought, he's got some artistic potential, but unfortunately, his parents are dead. There's no father making money. And I guess he's only got his grandmother here.
Right.
And she did not have the money to invest in his artistic aspirations, to, give him the money to study art at a university. So Chen taught in a public school for 7 years before he could finally afford to enroll in the Tokyo University of the Arts in 1924. So basically, yes, like a lot of people, they thought, well, I'll probably get a job as a public servant, okay, work for the government or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a guaranteed job. You'll probably never get fired. You got a fixed income. And then when you retire, you'll have a pension. You'll have health insurance, stuff like that. So he thought, okay, I'll do that and I'll save money on the side. So he was probably very frugal while he was working as a teacher. Didn't head out to, karaoke clubs all that much and saved his money. Didn't go traveling like all his friends did. And eventually he saved enough money to enroll over in Japan at the Tokyo University of the Arts, and that began in 1924. If you do your mathematics, it looks like he started at the age of 29, which is older than most people when they start university.
Yeah, definitely. Tom mentioned a word that's pretty cool, frugal, which is F-R-U-G-A-L. It means you're very, very careful with your money. You don't spend any that you don't need to. So you're not out at the karaoke places, like Tom said, or maybe going to the night market every night, or just doing whatever to spend your money. You're very careful to save and not to spend too much. So he was able to get himself into Tokyo University of the Arts. That's kind of cool. And we're going to learn more about his background, what he did after university. But first, we're going to take a break. No Chinese teacher, but we are going to take a break. Stay tuned.
All right, everybody, let's continue talking about our featured person in today's lesson, Chen Chengpo. This is a chilling reminder of Jia Yi's past. So you could do a Google search and see his paintings. Better yet, if you're in Jia Yi, you could check out this outdoor art exhibition of his works. They're all reproductions, I think. They can't stick those things outside because, they get rained on and stuff like that. But in any case, it's a good time to head down to Jia Yi and check this out. And we have been talking about his history here. His parents died when he was pretty young. His grandmother couldn't afford to send him to art school, so he became a teacher, saved up his money, and then enrolled in the Tokyo University of the Arts in 1924. Okay, so here's what happened next. Afterward, he taught art in Shanghai, where he developed his distinctive style. So I guess he studied at university in Japan, got his degree, and then went to Shanghai, which, of course, as you know, is a huge city in China. I suppose it was pretty big back then, too. And he was teaching art there and then painting in his free time, I guess, and he developed his distinctive style. So here we have the word distinctive. That means it's something that makes you unique, okay? A lot of artists have distinctive styles. If you look at it, you think, oh, that is Picasso, or that is Rembrandt, or that is Cézanne. That is a very distinctive style. Only he paints like that.
Yeah, if it's distinctive, you only see that style, and you don't confuse it with anything else. Some people have distinctive voices. Nobody else sounds like them. So it's nice to have a distinctive style. Well, upon Chen's return to Jia Yi in 1933, his painting career flourished. If something flourishes, it grows or develops in a really great way. It's very healthy, it's doing very well. So his painting career really took off, you could say. His works over the next several years featured rich, vivid portrayals of Taiwan's lush landscapes. Got a couple words here. If something's vivid, it's very clear, it's very bright, it's really powerful. It's intense, you could say, too. If you're talking about a color, if it's a vivid color, it's an intense, deep, or bright color. You can't miss it. It's not dull or boring, like a brown or a black, right? Maybe hot pink or really sky blue. He had vivid portrayals of Taiwan's beautiful scenery. Yeah, when you look at some of his paintings, you can see that he loves Taiwan. I think that's one of the points I see. His paintings are beautiful, but we call them portrayals of the landscapes. When you do a portrayal, you're showing other people what something is like. You can portray someone in writing. You can write about how they look, how they act, what they say. But an artist will portray something by painting and giving people a look at something. And we're talking about lush landscapes. Lush means lots of green. I remember when my mom came to Taiwan, she was shocked at all of the green that we have here. It's so humid and we get so much rain that trees and plants grow really well. And a landscape is just a part of the scenery of some country. So it's the features that you can see of an area or country. Notice here, guys, landscapes is countable. But scenery is not. So be careful with that. You can't say sceneries. Oh, I love Taiwan's scenery. I love Taiwan's landscapes.
Indeed. And if you see his works of art, you'll see that he paints outdoors quite often. Not a lot of portraits, mostly landscapes of traditional villages with all those brick buildings and things like that. Or some of the vegetation of Taiwan, the plants, bamboo, palm trees, and things like that. They're all very common in his paintings, and today 58 reproductions of these works are on display throughout Jia Yi, making up the Chen Chengpo art trail. I did say the reproductions. Actually, I didn't really know for sure if that was the case, but reproductions basically are works of art that are not the original. They're like copies of the original. And as I said, the originals are pretty old and they're very valuable. So they need to stay indoors in temperature-controlled buildings, away from bright light and away from moisture and things like that. So, of course, they need to rely on reproductions. But I guess there's some kind of art trail. Maybe you can get a map or something, and it can lead you to all these reproductions. Hey, it sounds like a great way to spend the weekend. Bring your camera, take pictures, pose in front of those paintings, and get to know a little about this folk hero by the name of Chen Chengpo.
So these are all on display at this Chen Chengpo art trail. It says that these reproductions make up, or these are productions making up the Chen Chengpo art trail. So that's what you'll get there. That's what is composed. It's composed of, makes up. Let's see, we could say Tom and I make up the recording team at English Digest. So we're the people, we're the ingredients, we're what is composed of. So making up. Can you think of another example there, Tom, for making up?
Make up. Well, we could say all these people make up a wonderful research team in our company. They've done lots of research and stuff like that. It'd be a lot easier just to tell you what the Chinese is, but I'm forbidden to do that. If I do say Chinese, I will get punished severely. But in any case, yes, these are all part of this art trail in Jiayi. Take the train down there and, probably get some brochures or information there, or go online and figure it out. Now, way back in 1946, Chen was elected to the Jiayi City Council. So that was just after World War II ended. And Taiwan was controlled by China at that point. So Chen was elected to the Jiayi City Council. That's like a government body in a city. Of course, we have the Taipei City Council here, the Kaohsiung City Council. My goodness, every big city and even small town has a city council.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, the following year, after he was elected, after the February 28th incident, and we know what that is, right? An incident is something that happens, and typically when you use that word incident, it's a bad thing or it's something that's not so good. Yeah, there was an incident at school today. 2 boys started fighting. So incident here is definitely a negative word. He was selected to approach the KMT as one of 6 representatives of peace during a standoff between civilians and the military. If you're a representative of something, you're there saying or communicating somebody else's wishes. Here, he was actually a representative from the people in his town, and he was going to talk to KMT folks about maybe, making the February 28th incident, trying to figure out a way to work together and have peace again.
Yes, to mend fences or whatever, to extend an olive branch or something like that. Let's make peace and stuff like that. The KMT, of course, stands for the English romanization of Kuomintang, which comes out as Kuomintang, if you spell it correctly, which is silly. Yes. But that's the romanization system they used at the time, and this term still exists today. I guess it should be GMD, actually, Kuomintang, but no one says that. But in any case, he was a representative, one of 6 representatives during that standoff. They couldn't really... I guess a standoff is kind of like a stalemate,
Right.
Nobody's really giving way and things are even.
You can no longer compromise. You're just both standing still with your position, right?
Waiting for somebody to make the first move so you can hit back or something like that. This was between regular folks, civilians, and the military. The military, however, seized Chen and 3 others, bound them with wire, and marched them through Jiayi streets before executing them in front of the train station. Now, that is quite tragic there and seems a little overboard there, especially when they were trying to make peace. But the military, nobody can predict what they're going to do. So they seized him, which means you kind of grab someone and make them a prisoner really quickly. And they marched them through the streets, I guess. I guess it was probably a forced march. March usually is in rhythm, dun, 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 march, a marching band,
1,
for example.
2, yeah.
There you go.
1, 2, 3.
But in this particular case, I guess it kind of means that they forced him and those other people to walk through the streets, I guess, to show them as an example to the people.
Yeah.
Here's what happened. Here's what's going to happen to you if you do what they did.
Yeah. They're being shown as an example of what not to do. Yeah. You don't want to get marched through streets with, the military behind it. Okay. So then they marched them through the streets before, this is horrible, they killed them. They executed them in front of the train station. So these 6 representatives who were were only there to negotiate peace didn't even have a chance to talk. They were seized and then they were killed. So if you execute somebody, you kill someone. And usually it's for something they did wrong, but not necessarily. Sometimes you'll read in the paper about a crime where they'll say the people were executed. So that usually means they were shot in the head. They weren't able to, fight back or anything. They were just shot. Yeah, it's kind of bad.
Yeah, execute also means you kind of put a plan into action to execute the financial deal or something. But in this particular case means they were killed by government people. Yes, as you said, probably shot. Other means of execution would be hanging. What else is there? The guillotine, lethal injection.
Lethal injection, they give you a shot, kills you.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how they executed him. I'm sure you can look that up. We're not supposed to really talk about that here. But in any case, he was executed in front of the train station. I bet you did not know that when you go down to Chiayi and switch over to the train to go to Alishan. Really close by there is where these people were executed. A little bit of history there.
Yeah.
And for 3 days, the KMT forbade the victims' families from collecting their bodies, which of course is traditional all over the world. When somebody dies, the family is supposed to take care of the body. But the KMT at the time forbade them from getting the bodies. To forbid in the present tense there means you just don't allow someone to do something. Smoking is forbidden here. If you smoke, you're going to be punished. And forbade is the past tense of forbid.
Yeah, I was just looking this up. I've actually heard it pronounced forbade too, and it's correct. But we recommend you say forbade. So they didn't let the victims' families come and collect the bodies. For 3 days, their bodies were out there. So heartbroken, Chun's family finally risked their own lives to carry him home. So they went anyway because they were told not to. They just ignored that and they went to carry his body home. And then they also photographed the evidence of his unjust death. Evidence is usually collected in a crime. You're trying to get proof that something happened. So they were trying to get the facts and the information that would prove that something had taken place. And they were trying to get evidence of his death. Unjust means not fair. And obviously it was not fair because he didn't, he wasn't taken to court. He didn't have a trial. He was just shot.
And he was pretty young at that point. Imagine how many more paintings he could have come up with if he had been allowed to live. So that was a tragedy both for Taiwan and the world of art. But they gathered the evidence of his unjust death. And somebody kept that shirt somehow. It was a bullet-torn shirt. When he got shot, of course, the bullet made some kind of rip in the shirt or something, so it tore the shirt, and it currently hangs in a museum somewhere. I don't know what museum that's hanging in, but it remains an evocative symbol of a white flag for peace. Evocative is something that makes us think about something. It makes us imagine some images or memories. Some things can be quite evocative of your childhood, for example, especially if you smell something.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, when I smell the smell of freshly laid tar on a street, I don't know why, it always is evocative of my childhood. Maybe they were, paving the street outside my house when I was 2 years old or something. So every time I smell that, it takes me way back to my childhood. It's quite evocative.
Yeah. Right now, guys, it's pretty much time for us to wrap up. So we're going to do that now. We hope you'll join us again soon. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
See ya.